I come before you as the nominee of the President to fill a vacancy in the office of Vice President of the United States under the provisions of the 25th Amendment to the Constitution, for which 65 senators and 368 members of the House in 1965 voted for, and which the legislatures of 48 states subsequently ratified. I might note that the state where I was born, Mr. Chairman, Nebraska, was the first to ratify the 25th Amendment. As you might guess, I have recently reviewed the debate on the 25th Amendment, and there is very little doubt that most of our attention in framing that amendment was centered on the question of presidential succession, on filling a vacancy in the presidency. Section 2, which dealt with the problems of filling a vacancy in the vice presidency, was a subsidiary issue in our minds, despite the fact that on 16 previous occasions, for a total of 27 years in our constitutional history, the nation has been without a vice president. Vice presidents have died and they have resigned. Today, our circumstances are unprecedented. Until now, vice presidents have always been elected, at first separately, but most of the time together with the president, by an electoral college chosen for that purpose by all the people. One vice president, Richard Mentor Johnson, was elected by the Senate in 1837 under the 12th Amendment when the electoral vote was tied. This is the first time in the history that both the Senate and the House of Representatives have been required to advise and consent to the President's nomination of Vice President. These are not ordinary times, nor I suppose will the times ever be ordinary when the 25th Amendment must be invoked. However, I want to assure you, Mr. Chairman, the members of this committee, and all of my colleagues in the House or in the Congress, that I fully appreciate and share your determination to consider with the utmost diligence my qualifications and fitness for the second highest office of the Republic. For the sake of the country we all love, for your sake, and certainly for mine, Mr. Chairman, I would not want it otherwise. I am a member of this Congress. I have a vote and a responsibility under the Constitution the same as yours. Under the circumstances, however, I will vote present when my nomination is before the House. I might say parenthetically, I'm used to this. Custom has compelled me to do it in the last 5 votes for the speakership of the House, when I consecutively lost on those occasions to the Honorable John McCormick and the Honorable Carl Albert. You know, Mr. Chairman, life plays some funny tricks on people. Here I've been trying with might and main for 25 years to become Speaker of the House. Suddenly, I'm a candidate for President of the Senate, where I could hardly ever vote and where I'll never get a chance to speak. When I was asked by the President for my recommendations for Vice President, I really did suggest Hugh Scott and Mel Laird, and one other whose name I won't tell. But the President didn't pay any attention to my advice on that occasion. I know you're going to have a lot of questions for me, but there are 2 very big ones. Perhaps I can answer at the outset. First, what makes you, or me, Jerry Ford, qualified to be Vice President of the United States? Second, what kind of a Vice President would you hope to be? Let me take the second question first. How do I regard the office of the Vice Presidency in the climate and the context of right now and in the terms of the future? History isn't much help here, except recent history, through which we have all lived. There are only 3 living Americans who have held this high office. And 3 weeks ago at the White House, one of them told me he wanted me to take the job. The first 2 telephone calls I got after that announcement were from the 2 other former vice presidents. And for their generous good wishes, I will always be very grateful.